You walk down the brightly lit aisle of your local pet store, and there it is. A tiny 2-inch fish swimming innocently in a bare display tank for $5. The plastic label on the glass clearly says it needs a 55-gallon aquarium. You have a 55-gallon aquarium running perfectly in your living room. It seems like simple, foolproof math. Today we are breaking down the best and worst monster fish at PetSmart and PetCo. But before we start pointing fingers at the store, we have to look at this objectively. We aren't here to bash these big chain companies. The person scooping your fish is a retail worker doing their best, not a marine biologist. Their job is to clear inventory, and they are dealing with massive, centralized filtration systems designed for temporary survival. The label on the tank is written for the fish as it exists today, not for the biological machine it will become in 6 months. When you buy a monster fish without understanding its future metabolism, you fall into a biological trap. Small tanks do not fail faster. Small mistakes just do not dilute. A fish does not simply grow to the size of its tank. That is a complete myth. As a fish doubles in physical length, its mass actually multiplies by 8. It becomes a biological freight train, and the momentum of that freight train simply crushes your filter. Let's start with the worst fish you can buy. The system crashes. Number 4 is the ultimate tank buster, the Pacu. People buy these out of pure curiosity because they look exactly like juvenile piranhas. They are incredibly cheap, they look tough, and at 2 inches, they seem manageable. But what the label doesn't tell you is that a Pacu is basically an aquatic cow. They consume massive amounts of organic matter and turn the bottom of your tank into a toxic waste dump in a matter of hours. They do not just outgrow the physical space of your tank, they outgrow the biological capacity of your filter so fast that your water parameters will swing violently overnight. They will also uproot every single plant you own, turning a carefully aquascaped environment into a cloudy wasteland. Dropping a Pacu into a standard community tank is a guaranteed way to collapse your nitrogen cycle. Worst number 3, the Bala shark. If the Pacu breaks the tank with sheer biological mass, number 3 just runs out of runway. The Bala shark. The store label might say they fit perfectly in a medium-sized tank, but water volume is not the same thing as swimming velocity. Bala sharks are open water sprinters. They do not need 50 gallons of standing water, they need 8 feet of uninterrupted horizontal swimming space. Trapping them in a standard 4-foot tank is like putting a racing greyhound in a small closet. As they grow, they become highly stressed, erratic, and constantly pace the glass. That relentless motion stresses out every other fish sharing the water. Eventually, they disrupt the entire resting ecosystem of your tank. Worst number 2, the iridescent shark. While the Bala shark paces the glass, number 2 will physically shatter it, the iridescent shark. You see these tiny, sleek sharks swimming nervously together in the store. What you do not see is their natural behavior as they age. They are skittish giants with hypersensitive lateral lines. They live in a permanent state of flight. When you simply walk past the tank, or if you just turn on the room light, they panic. They slam into the glass at full speed, shattering glass heaters, knocking over heavy rocks, and causing severe physical trauma to themselves. You simply cannot keep a high-speed panic machine in a static glass box. The physical damage is immediate, and the constant stress completely destroys their immune system. Worst number 1, the Redtail Catfish. Which brings us to number 1, the absolute ultimate biological black hole, the Redtail Catfish. As a baby, It is sold as a cute, highly active bottom feeder. Within a single year, it transforms into an apex predator that views your entire community tank as an all-you-can-eat buffet. But the real danger is not just that it eats your expensive tank mates. The invisible danger is the resulting ammonia spike. When a fish that massive consumes other fish, your filter bacteria has to process all of that heavy biological waste at once. The nitrifying bacteria simply cannot multiply fast enough to catch up to the freight train. The system crashes, the water turns milky white, and the oxygen drops to lethal levels before you even wake up. The biological math. This is where we need to pause and look at the math of your tank. If your tank looked perfect on paper, but that 2-inch fish started turning the water cloudy every 3 days, are you actually going to blame your filter? Or are you going to blame the plastic label on the pet store tank? Because the truth is, the store just leaves the difficult math up to you. It is our job to understand the ecosystem. If understanding this kind of system logic helps you avoid expensive mistakes, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We don't just review fish here, we break down why ecosystems actually work. So what should you actually buy? If you want that monster fish aesthetic, you need the translators. The fish that respect the boundaries of a closed glass box. Number 4 is the working class Discus, the green Severum. If you want a massive, beautiful fish that immediately becomes the visual centerpiece of your tank, this is the safest pick. Unlike the highly aggressive monsters that patrol the middle of the water column looking for a fight, a Severum is generally peaceful and patient. They might occasionally eat a soft leaf if you don't feed them enough greens, but they do not actively hunt down their smaller tank mates. Their biological footprint is completely predictable, and their temperament is incredibly stable, making them an excellent choice for large community setups. Best number 3. The blood parrot cichlid. If the Severum is peaceful by nature, number 3 is peaceful by design. The blood parrot cichlid. These are the safest giants you can buy. They get surprisingly large, they look incredibly bold, and they have the highly interactive personality of a water dog. But their genetic structure gives your tank a massive advantage. Their mouth is physically deformed in a way that prevents them from doing serious damage. Even if they get territorial and try to aggressively bite another fish, they usually cannot lock on. You get the impressive size and the intense attitude of a monster fish without the lethal consequences. Best number 2, the Senegal Bichir. While the parrot dominates the middle, number 2 owns the floor. The Senegal Bichir, often labeled as the dinosaur eel. This is the best kept secret at any chain store. Unlike a fast-moving shark, the Bichir is a slow, highly methodical bottom dweller. It has a very slow metabolism, which means its daily bioload is highly manageable for a standard canister filter. It even has a modified lung that allows it to breathe atmospheric air directly from the surface, meaning it will not instantly suffocate if your water oxygen drops slightly overnight. It is an ancient survivor equipped with hard armor-like scales. It works seamlessly with your system, not against it. Best number 1, the Oscar. But the absolute best monster fish you can buy is number 1, the Oscar. But this is the ultimate solo project. Let us be entirely clear, Oscars are heavy polluters. They will absolutely destroy a peaceful community tank. But if you keep an Oscar entirely alone, in a 75-gallon tank or larger, with heavily oversized filtration, they are the most intelligent wet pet you will ever own in this hobby. They recognize your face, they beg for food, they interact with you through the glass, They will literally rearrange the rocks and spit gravel exactly how they want it. You just have to build the entire system strictly around them, rather than forcing them into a fragile system that already exists. System survival. I read comments all the time from people who gave up on large fish because their community tank turned into a war zone. If you have ever had to physically wrestle a giant fish during a routine water change because it decided to attack your plastic siphon, drop that story in the comments. I know I am not the only one. Listen to me. If your tank crashed because a chain store monster outgrew your filter, it was not your fault. You didn't misread the label. The label just skipped the math. And if you want to understand another massive lie in this hobby, click the video on screen right now. We broke down exactly why the 1 inch per gallon rule is destroying beginner tanks. Until next time, keep your systems balanced, your research independent, and your curiosity flowing.